Subaru Legacy 3.6R Limited. This will be a detailed review of the car and the features equipped, so stay tuned.
Alright, so inside the cabin, we'll go ahead and push the gauges do a nice little sweep, and as you can see, there's a nice blue ring, illuminated ring around both the odometer and the speedometer. A really nice touch. There's a switch on the steering wheel here, and we can toggle through a few of the settings. So I currently have it on the digital speedometer setting, and we can shuffle through. There is a setting for the amount of time for the current destination that you've been driving in total. Then you have basically miles to destination if you were to use the navigation. Then we also have an average miles per gallon rating and miles to empty. And then we have another like trip A, trip B, average miles per gallon and miles till empty. Then we also have just basically a clear background for those who basically like a nice clean look with no display or anything like that. And then we have the setting mode. Also have a compass, and then back to the digital speedometer. The steering wheel is very nice, very nicely leather wrapped. Feels very comfortable, nice thick steering wheel. Not too large and not too small. I think it's just perfect for a sedan in this class. You have the Subaru emblem over here in the center. It's a nice 3-spoke steering wheel. To the left of the steering wheel, we have the audio controls. You have your volume up and down button, your channel back and forward buttons, and then you have your mute and back button in the center here as well. Down below that, you have your source button, which will shuffle through your music options. You have your AM, FM, your Sirius XM if you have your Bluetooth audio, and then if you have your phone connected, you can have your AHA application, your Pandora, or your CD. To the right of that is your Bluetooth speaking system, and right below that we have the phone answer and disconnect buttons. And now to the right of the steering wheel, we have here the cruise control and the Eyesight buttons. I will go over that later on as well when I cover the Eyesight portion of this review. The steering wheel itself, very nicely wrapped. The 10 and 2 notches here, very nicely bolstered, very thick. It feels really nice. And the 9 and 3 grip, I think, is fantastic, very comfortable. The door itself, I don't know if you can see here, you have this nice luxurious faux wood grain cover here. It gives you a nice, luxurious touch there, luxurious feeling, and that wood grain is basically comes through around the whole dash of the car all the way around to the passenger side as well. It's very nice. They gave it tons of cushioning. Feels very nice, very comfortable, and it doesn't feel cheap at all. It feels like they really did a good job putting the cushioning in there and the sound deadening there as well, and it's really nicely stitched. I don't know if you can tell here. And right above there you have your driver's side controls. Up top we have here your side view mirror controls, and then right below that you have your window lock and unlock and your door lock and unlock buttons. And right below that you have your window functions for all 4 windows. The front passenger and the driver, the 2 front driver and the passenger windows have both auto up and auto down functions. The rear buttons or the rear windows do not have the auto up and down functions. To be honest, I wish that Subaru added that functionality to the Legacy, especially this one, which is the limited and the top tier version of the Legacy, I think it would be nice to, you know, be able to kind of auto up and down all 4 windows, but it's not too big of a deal. It's not a real deal breaker. I mean, it's really nice that both front windows have that option. Now, here as well, as I mentioned, I do have the limited model here. Right by the door handle here, we have a few functions or a few buttons, and they're basically your memory seat functions. So you can have 2 seats for, or 2 memory settings for your driver's side seat. It's very great for when I drive this car and my girlfriend drive the car, different settings that we prefer, and it's very awesome. You just push this button, one of the 2 buttons, and it will put you back to the setting that you had set it up for your comfort. Now let's talk about the multimedia system. Subaru really stepped up their game with their 2016 plus models. So this will be your top tier navigation multimedia package. It's got a very nice LCD screen in the center, 7-inch LCD screen. We have your home page here. Now this car does come with the navigation package. So we go ahead and click the map button here, and it basically shows you a really nice map setting here. I will say this about the OEM navigation package. The map function works very well. When you are using the navigation, just so you can keep your eyes straight on the road, what will happen is as you're driving, it will give you route by route instructions here in the LCD screen up front. It will tell you which street that you need to turn onto or continue to go ahead, and the distance remaining on that road. It's a very cool function, and it will also continue speaking to you as well through the speakers. It's a very cool function. It helps me keep my eyes straight on the road and very briefly look straight down and up if I need to. Sometimes when I use the map, it doesn't always use the best route options. Sometimes it makes me go into loops and makes my destination longer, and it makes me take roads and paths that kind of veer away from where my destination is just to get there, and it adds some time. It doesn't happen frequently. It does get me to where I need to go, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I think it's just unnecessary with some of the streets that it chooses for me to take. But again, that doesn't happen very often. It's happened maybe a few times since I've used it, like honestly 3 or 4 times, but it's not a big deal. It's not like it adds an hour or so, maybe like 5 minutes or something like that to the trip. But I do feel that that's kind of an annoyance. I kind of wish it would be a little bit more accurate. You have your AM and FM. You have your Sirius XM if you are signed up for that. And then you have your Bluetooth audio option as well to sync up to your phone. Next, you'll have your phone functionality. This is the dial pad section where you can basically type in the number manually and call it in. And it's very responsive. It knows exactly what you're pressing the first time you press it around, so it doesn't have a difficulty distinguishing what's being pressed. You can also have your contacts uploaded in here when you sync your phone to the Bluetooth. Call history, and your speed dial functions as well. Now, on that same note with hooking up your phone to the car, what this car also has is if you receive any text messages, the dash will light up here and tell you that someone will tell you somebody has texted you, and you can choose to either push a couple buttons. You have the option to push a read button, and the car will essentially read to you out loud through the speakers what the text message is saying. Now it is a little generic, and now what it won't do is if you are driving and you choose to press the read button and it reads it for you, if the vehicle is moving, it will not produce the words from the text messages on the screen, just to avoid the driver looking down at the multimedia screen while driving and trying to read the full text message. That way it will just basically read it for you, and if you choose to want to look at the text messages, you will have to stop, put the car in park, and be able to read the message. I think that's a really cool safety feature that they added. The back seats here, very comfortable. So I have the driver's seat here set up to how I would be driving the car. I'm about 5'9". I have so much leg room here. So much space to basically stretch out, relax. The seats back here are very comfortable as well, and the headroom is very nice, so you shouldn't have any problem if you were well over 6 feet to be comfortable back here for long trips. A cool function here is, as I mentioned earlier, the front seats have heated seats, but guess what? The back seats also have that option. I think it's very cool that Subaru added that here, so your rear passengers can also feel a little bit more welcome and comfortable on those cooler days. Now, instead of having 3 options or 3 settings like the front seats have, you only have 2 settings here. You only have 2 options here, but that's better than nothing, I think. And they work very well, very quickly. They'll warm up to the temps that you desire. You also have a couple vents here for the heat or AC system for the rear passengers as well. You also have some nice cup holders here for the rear passengers. And you also have this center armrest here for the rear passenger that also comes with a couple cup holders. Very nice and comfortable. All right, so let's start it up. The car is a push start button, so just put your foot on the brake and push the start. And the car starts up. The car is equipped with a nice backup camera. It gives you the space lines, but it doesn't really adjust or give you any beeps or anything like that. So we're on a pretty nice straight road here. Let's check out what it's got. This car is the flat 6 boxer motor, so let's see how it pushes. 255 horsepower, about 250 pound-feet of torque. Whoa. It's got a good kick. So the car is very luxurious on the inside. It's essentially to compete with the Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, and Toyota Avalon around that range. And I gotta say, a very smooth ride. I'm on a average road over here, not too bumpy, but not too smooth. Car feels great. Kind of like I'm floating on a cloud. That says a lot for a Subaru too. A lot of the Subarus I drive generally tend to have rougher suspension and a rougher ride, but this one it's really smooth, very comfortable. I can definitely see myself driving this for very long roads, and I've taken this from essentially Boston all the way up to Maine, New Hampshire, New York, no problems whatsoever, very comfortable. As you can tell, it's very quiet in the cabin. Tons of noise and wind outside, tons of cars driving by. I mean, it's really windy out too. Very quiet in here. I mean, you can let me know through the mic, but to me, it's very quiet, comfortable, smooth. Now, that's not to say that it's like you can't hear anything outside. You do hear some wind noise, slight wind noise. You do hear some tire noise as well. Subaru's known for having kind of loud tires. But it's not on the level of their WRX or STI, where it's just tons of noise coming in from the outside and very bothersome. I mean, I think it can parallel with the Honda Accord and the Toyota Camry and Avalon. Don't think it's quite Audi, BMW level, but it's for the price range and the class of the vehicle, it's great. The flat 6 motor in this car is actually very smooth and very quiet. So this car you can get it in either a 4-cylinder option or the 6-cylinder option, and this is the 3.6 liter flat 6. A lot quieter than the 4-cylinder engine. A lot smoother, less rough at idle or when you're driving around. Very comfortable, civilized, I think is the right word to use here. Visibility is fantastic in this car. You have windows everywhere basically. The A-pillars are fairly thin, but safe. And you have right behind the side view mirror here, you have they replaced with glass over here, so you can actually see through. It gives you a bit more visibility. The rear windshield is fantastic, enormous, so no issues there. To be honest, just like any other sedan. The side windows, massive. The B pillar is not intrusive at all. I can see behind it and in front of it comfortably. All right, so let's turn on here and see what the car does from a stop. It's pretty quick for what it is. I mean, the car is fairly heavy, but it's got a kick. You'll have no problems passing anybody on the highway if you need to. Now, for the car being a 6-cylinder, what bothers me is that the car only has about 250 horsepower, 250, 255. That's crank horsepower, and the cars, the competitor cars in its class, like the Honda Accord V6 currently is pushing about 276, 280 horsepower at the crank. And, you know, yes, that's a front-wheel drive car, but that's, I mean, that's a huge difference between the Legacy 3.6 and the Honda V6. And the Camry V6 also has about the same as the Honda Accord, around the 270 horsepower range. And I mean, they're only getting higher and higher as as Toyota and Honda change up their lineup. So I think Subaru's got to step up their game with their Legacy, and, you know, at least with the 6-cylinder version of the car, they need to either bring back the 4-cylinder turbocharged motor, or, you know, up the game of the flat 6, because, not to compare this with Porsche or anything, but we know Porsches have flat 6 boxer motors, and those things are cranking out a lot more horsepower. We know these motors are capable of generating a lot more power. So come on, Subaru, kind of step up your game there. It'd be fantastic. Around these curvy roads, the car handles decent. It does feel kind of like a boat at times. You can feel it kind of shake a bit when you take a turn, or a delay when you take a turn. Not too planted, but don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that the car, you know, wobbles and, you know, is unsafe. It is by no means like one of those old Oldsmobile cars. It can handle pretty well. It's pretty direct when you steer the car and point the car in a direction and it'll go there. Very confident when I drive the car. Now, this car does come with the Eyesight package. And what that is essentially right above the rear view mirror here, you have 2 cameras. And what that does is it essentially monitors the road in front of you, and it checks to see if there are any obstacles, whether it be a person, an animal, a vehicle, or any type of obstruction that comes in front of you. And if it thinks at any point in time that you are not sensing, or the driver is not sensing and is not going to stop in a quick enough time, or in a fast response, or if the driver is not reacting quick enough, what will happen is the Eyesight will kick in and will stop the car for you, or slow down the car itself, to make things safer for the driver and everyone around. What it also has, it has lane assist. So if you are veering over the marked lines on the road, whether it's on a highway or a normal city road, it will give you a few beeps to alert you that you're veering away from your lane, or you're veering out of your lane. And if it thinks that you are still not responsive and you are actually going to go over the lines, what it will do is the lane assist will kick in and it'll bring you back into your lane. So essentially the car takes control of the steering and brings you back within its sensors, brings you back into the lane you should be. Now, this isn't anywhere near Tesla's autopilot type of system. It won't, you know, if you were to be on the highway and, you know, put the lane assist cruise control on and just let go of the steering wheel and hope that it will keep the car in place, that's not going to happen. It will. I haven't tested it out, and don't think I will be testing out anything like that for everybody's safety. But this is just to kind of a preventive measure, last case scenario, to get you back into the lane and hope that you are paying attention at that point and control the car. I tell you, it works fantastic. So that's gonna do it for today's video. Please hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this review. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this to come in the future. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at NEMotoGuy. And until next time, thanks for watching.